Welcome to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast. Today I'll be previewing the second round matchups in the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. In this podcast, I preview the semifinals matchups in the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. Eastern Conference matchups. The second semifinals matchup in the Eastern Conference is between the New Jersey Devils and Carolina Hurricanes. Game 1 is going to be played on May 3rd, Wednesday at 7 p.m. on ESPN. The Carolina Hurricanes took care of business easily against the New York Islanders in the first round, defeating the Islanders in 6 games, flexing its defensive muscle, allowing just 2.50 goals per game, while besting a likely Vezina Trophy finalist in Ilya Sorokin. While Carolina and New York's playstyle is very similar, there is one distinct difference. Carolina played their backup in the first 5 games of the series, didn't really play particularly well in Game 6, and still came through with a victory. That means Carolina's system is a well-oiled machine, and it doesn't matter what players are in the lineup, what goalie is in net, and that is particularly frightening for any team that has to go up against them. On the other side, the New Jersey Devils came out victorious in the first round matchup against their rival New York Rangers. After falling behind 2-0 in the series, New Jersey won 4 of the last 5 games, including Game 7 at Newark. While New Jersey looked shaky to start the series, the Devils bounced back and performed much better and looked like the Devils club that won 52 games in the regular season. The emergence of Akira Schmid in net helped the team to its first playoff series win in 11 years. The game breakers in this series are Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes for the New Jersey Devils. Jack Hughes in particular stands out for New Jersey. He emerged as a superstar player for New Jersey, tallying a club-high 99 points in the regular season. Nico Hischier is their captain of the Devils. He leads by his efficiency in the faceoff circle and his two-way play. For the Carolina Hurricanes, their game breakers are Sebastian Aho, who is a killer in the playoffs. It seems like every time Carolina needs a big goal, he has a hand in it. And the other game breaker for Carolina is Brent Burns. With no Andrei Svechnikov and no Teuvo Teravainen, defensemen have to step up and chip in offensively, and Brent Burns is just the defenseman for that job. Ex-Carolina Hurricanes defenseman Dougie Hamilton has played a key role on the Devils. He was the big free agent acquisition back in 2021. He had a career-high 22 goals this season and also a career-high 74 points. Although Jesper Bratt and Timo Meier both didn't have great first rounds against the Rangers, they are both dynamic offensive players that can contribute offensively and have game-breaking tendencies. Carolina does not have the skill that New Jersey does, but they do have a crafty veteran defensive-minded center with playoff experience in Jordan Staal. Jordan Staal is likely going to see a lot of Jack Hughes in this series. So if Carolina is going to be successful in this series, he is going to have a whale of the series. The other dynamic offensive player is Martin Necas. Martin Necas set a career high in points this season and actually led the team in points. He is definitely a player to look out for. One of the most underrated defensemen in the league is Jacob Slavin. He is usually tasked with defending other teams' top players. I can't imagine it will be different in this series. The X factor for the New Jersey Devils is Erik Haula, who actually has the team lead in goals right now with 4. That adds extra incentive for him. The X factor for Carolina is Seth Jarvis. Seth Jarvis had a down year this year, but he seems to be getting it going in the playoffs now. He really needs to contribute offensively because he is needed to with the key players out of the lineup. The goalie matchup in this series is Akira Schmid for the New Jersey Devils against Frederik Andersen and Antti Ranta for the Carolina Hurricanes. At this moment in time, it is unknown which goalie the Carolina Hurricanes will play, but being that Carolina has played a tandem all year in net, they have confidence in both their netminders. For the Devils, Akira Schmid was stellar in net since taking over for Vitek Vanecek in Game 3 of the first round matchup against the Rangers. The Devils will need him to continue to be stellar against the Hurricanes. Historically, the Devils have a 10-14 record against the Hurricanes, averaging just 2.3 goals per game. Another important number to know is that the Carolina Hurricanes have killed off 94% of their penalties, while the Devils' power play struggled against the Rangers in the first round. This is definitely going to be a cause for concern for New Jersey. New Jersey Devils win if Akira Schmid plays well. The Devils can use their speed to get by slower Carolina defensemen, and they get traffic in front of Carolina's goalies. Carolina Hurricanes win if they can neutralize New Jersey's speed, capitalize on New Jersey's turnovers, and get solid goaltending from the goalies. My prediction for this series is the New Jersey Devils win the series in 7 games. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at hockeywiz777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/hockeywiz777scouting. The first matchup in the Eastern Conference is between the Toronto Maple Leafs and Florida Panthers. Game 1 will be played on Tuesday at 7 p.m. on ESPN and CBC. The Florida Panthers shocked the hockey world by upsetting the heavily favored and President's Trophy winning Boston Bruins in the first round of the Eastern Conference quarterfinals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Carter Verhaeghe scored an 8:35 of overtime to give the Florida Panthers a 4-3 victory in Game 7 to send the Panthers into the second round. With this victory, the Panthers are on a 3-game winning streak after overcoming a 3-1 deficit in the series against the Bruins while outscoring them 15-11. Led by Matthew Tkachuk, who had 11 points, including 5 goals in the series, they will be playing a Maple Leafs team that surrendered 21 goals in a 6-game series against the Maple Leafs. They will be playing a Maple Leafs team that surrendered 21 goals in a 6-game series win against the Tampa Bay Lightning. John Tavares scored the overtime winning goal in Game 6 for the Maple Leafs in their first series win since 2004. Tavares, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander combined for 34 points in that series. The game breakers in this series are the 2 American-born superstars, Austin Matthews for the Toronto Maple Leafs and Matthew Tkachuk for the Florida Panthers. Austin Matthews led the Maple Leafs in goals with 5 goals in the first round. He was simply dominant and was the player they need him to be. Matthew Tkachuk does everything on the ice. In the first round against the Bruins, he was simply the heart and soul of the Panthers and gave the Panthers an us against the world mentality. The other game breaker to watch for on the Florida Panthers is obviously their captain, Alexander Barkov. When he is on his game, he's one of the best two-way players in the game. For the Maple Leafs, they have a trio of superstars besides Matthews in Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and William Nylander, along with trade deadline acquisition Ryan O'Reilly, who has given the Leafs much-needed veteran presence in the locker room. The X factor for the Toronto Maple Leafs is Matthew Knies, who signed with the club one day after playing for the University of Minnesota at the NCAA Frozen Four. Although there were questions about how he would handle the physical toll at the NHL level, he has silenced critics by contributing 3 assists in 5 games and worked nicely alongside Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari on the third line. He was easily one of the most effective players against the Lightning, and the Maple Leafs hope that he continues to do the same against the Panthers. For the Panthers, Sam Bennett, who caused all types of havoc for the Bruins with his sandpaper style and penchant for going into the dirty areas in front of the net, should be an X factor. Although his production isn't eye-catching, his playstyle in the playoffs directly affects the outcome of games in many ways. The goalie matchup in this series is Ilya Samsonov for the Toronto Maple Leafs and Sergei Bobrovsky for the Florida Panthers. When you look at Ilya Samsonov's stats, they don't look overly impressive, but when you dig deeper, you'll find that he played much better than they showed. He won all 3 games on the road, and he was great when it counted. Sergei Bobrovsky was the difference in the final 3 games of the series against Boston. He really held the fort down in games 5 and 7. He will have to continue to do that against Toronto. Some important numbers to know heading into this series. It has been 19 years since the Toronto Maple Leafs last won a series round, and the Florida Panthers' penalty kill was only 59.3% against the Boston Bruins in the first round. They gotta stay out of the box against the high-powered power play like the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs win if all their best players play like their best players, and Ilya Samsonov plays like he did in the first round. The Florida Panthers win if Matthew Tkachuk continues his dominance, Alexander Barkov has a good second round, and Sergei Bobrovsky is on his game. My prediction is that the Toronto Maple Leafs win in 6 games. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywiz777. Western Conference matchups. The first Western Conference semifinals matchup is between the Dallas Stars and Seattle Kraken. Game 1 of this series is played today at 9:30 p.m. on ESPN and CBC. The Seattle Kraken defeated the defending Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche in 7 games, becoming the first expansion team to defeat the defending Stanley Cup champions in their first ever playoff matchup. While the Dallas Stars defeated the Minnesota Wild in 6 games in the first round. They will be making their second consecutive postseason appearance. Last year, they lost in the first round to Calgary in 7 games, but in 2020, they went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals before losing to the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games. This matchup between the Dallas Stars and Seattle Kraken is really interesting because this is the first time they will ever face off, so there's nothing to go off of. Game breakers in this series for Dallas, Roope Hintz was everything for Dallas in the first round. He was actually the point scoring leader in the playoffs with 12 points, including 5 goals in his first 6 games against the Wild. Jason Robertson, who was the point scoring leader for Dallas in the regular season, is also a marquee player to watch for. And Miro Heiskanen, who also had a fantastic series in the first round, led defenseman in points for Dallas. For the Seattle Kraken, they don't really have any particular game breakers, but they do have some players that stand out, like Yanni Gourde, who is a player who has a lot of playoff experience under his belt, has won Stanley Cups with Tampa Bay. Jaden Schwartz is also a key player. He has playoff experience, has won a Stanley Cup, and is one of the leaders in the locker room. Oliver Borkstrand, who had a whale of a series against Colorado, is also a major factor. He could have had more goals in that Game 7 win against Colorado had it not been for the post. Some other players to watch out for on Seattle are Matty Beniers and Jordan Eberle. Although Matty Beniers is a rookie, he is no ordinary rookie. He was getting played regularly and was getting matched up against the top players for Colorado. That speaks volumes. Jordan Eberle, who scored the game-winning goal in Game 4 against Colorado, is another veteran on this team. He has some playoff experience, and while he is not a star player, he is capable of scoring goals. Some other players to note include Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. These two used to be the core players for Dallas, but now as they grow older, they are now support players and they are doing really good in that role. Starting with Jamie Benn. Although he is the captain of the team, he's playing on the third line and is doing a really good job at mentoring those young kids on that third line. Tyler Seguin did a really good job at filling in for Joe Pavelski in the first round, but if Joe Pavelski is back for the second round, he should be back on the second line. The X factors in this series is Joe Pavelski for Dallas because at this point it is unknown if he is ready to go in the second round. If Pavelski plays, it gives Dallas a huge advantage. For the Seattle Kraken, its penalty kill is the second best PK in the playoffs, and it was a key to defeating Colorado in the first round. The goalie matchup in this series is Jake Ottinger for the Dallas Stars against Philip Grubauer for the Seattle Kraken. Jake Ottinger was his stellar self in the first round against the Minnesota Wild. He went 4-2 with a 2.01 GAA and a .929 save percentage with a shutout. Philip Grubauer really carried the Seattle Kraken past the defending Stanley Cup champions Colorado Avalanche, which was his former club. He went 4-3 with a 2.44 GAA and a .926 save percentage in 7 starts. He was very busy in the series, facing 231 shots, which was the most of any goalie in the playoffs so far. Some important numbers to know heading into the series. The Dallas Stars excelled in the faceoff circle, winning 56.3% of faceoffs, the best faceoff win percentage in the playoffs. Seattle Kraken defenseman Adam Larsson played 176 minutes and 36 seconds in 7 games, the most of any skater in the postseason. That includes an NHL leading 153 minutes and 47 seconds of even strength ice time. The Dallas Stars win if they continue to get depth scoring from players like Evgeny Dadonov and other key role players and get strong goaltending from Jake Ottinger. Seattle Kraken win if their penalty kill continues to be strong, they play as a collective 5-man unit, and get outstanding goaltending from Philip Grubauer. My prediction is that the Dallas Stars win the series in 6 games. Listen to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. The second semifinals matchup in the Western Conference is between the Edmonton Oilers and Vegas Golden Knights. Game 1 of the series is played on Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on ESPN and CBC. This is the marquee matchup in the second round, featuring star players on each side, and is a very even matchup. The Vegas Golden Knights finished 2 points ahead of the Edmonton Oilers in the regular season. For the Pacific Division crown, that slim margin earned Vegas home ice advantage, which could be a huge advantage in the series. However, the Edmonton Oilers closed the regular season on a 9-game winning streak and have won 13 of their past 15 games, including the playoffs. It's also worth noting that they took 7 of possible 8 points in 4 of the games they played against Vegas during the regular season. This series is loaded with star talent. For the Edmonton Oilers, obviously, they have the dynamic superstars with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers is the best player in hockey right now. He finished the regular season with a league-leading 153 points, including 64 goals, while his teammate Leon Draisaitl finished the regular season with 52 points, with 52 goals and 76 assists. In the playoffs, those two players combined for 21 points. Draisaitl, who has 11 points, and McDavid with 10. Vegas answers with Mark Stone and Jack Eichel, 2 of the top 4 goal scorers for Vegas in the postseason. Mark Stone is one of the best two-way wingers in the game, and when he's on his game, he is a bona fide stud. Jack Eichel is playing in his first ever postseason series, had 3 goals and 5 points in his first ever playoff series. Besides McDavid and Draisaitl, the Edmonton Oilers have another 100-point player in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who is an essential piece to the power play. Evander Kane and Zach Hyman round out the top 6. They are both top 6 players that can score big-time goals. For Vegas, William Karlsson and Chandler Stevenson have been fantastic for them in the playoffs. William Karlsson has always showed up when it counts in the playoffs and provides really good secondary scoring for them. Chandler Stevenson is a very versatile forward capable of playing center and wing. This gives the coach flexibility to move him up and down the lineup. Alex Pietrangelo, who was a major free agent signing by Vegas a couple years ago, has already paid dividends so far this postseason. He is routinely playing against the other team's top players, and if Vegas is to advance past Edmonton, he will have to play a key role in it. The X factor in this series for Vegas is Brett Howden, who has been a key piece of the third line, playing alongside Mark Stone and Chandler Stevenson. Howden has 4 points and leads the team in plus-minus. For the Oilers is Evan Bouchard, who had 10 points in the first round and was a key figure on the Edmonton's #1 power play. The goalie matchup in this series is Laurent Brossoit for Vegas against Stuart Skinner for the Edmonton Oilers. Brossoit went 4-1 with a 2.42 GAA and .915 save percentage, although he wasn't really tested all that much. For Edmonton, Stuart Skinner wasn't as good this postseason. He went 3-2 with a 3.43 GAA and .890 save percentage. Vegas had 101 blocks against the Winnipeg Jets, the 12th highest total in the first round. This was after Vegas led the league with 1,494 blocks during the regular season, which was 171 more than the next closest team that qualified for the playoffs. Edmonton had 16 power plays against the LA Kings in the first round and scored on 9 of them for an eye-popping 56.3%. This is no fluke though, as the Oilers had the #1 ranked power play during the regular season and had a 32.4 success rate during the regular season. Draisaitl and McDavid combined for 53 power play goals during the regular season. Vegas Golden Knights win if they stay out of the box and keep Edmonton playing 5-on-5. Laurent Brossoit plays stellar, and their star players like Jack Eichel and Mark Stone show up. Edmonton Oilers win if their best players like McDavid and Draisaitl lead the way, get contributions from key role players, and get good goaltending from Stuart Skinner. Check out my travel channel at youtube.com/@HockeyWizTravels. In my next podcast, I update the second round matchups.